excited. Hello, everyone. And I will be spending the next 20 minutes with you and share a bit more on my work, give you an answer to the question if processes save the world, and also talk a little bit about my experiences as a female leader in a tech company like Celonis. So excited to take you through. I want to start with a quick question that you can think about. And if you want, you can also share it in the chat. How do you want to save the world? Do you want at all? But I guess many of you want, because it's something that is oftentimes inherent to us and driving us forward. And how do you imagine that you want to save the world? For me, the question was always linked to businesses or organizations. I always knew that I want to work in organizations that drive innovative products forward, that have an immediate positive impact on the people that use them or work with them. And that has led me in my career in a couple of different organizations and outlets. I studied business administration, economics, and publishing. So I have that as a background. I've always added kind of like a focus point around sustainability, ethics, or digitalization. I have worked at Siemens Healthineers before, at the United Nations, at Random House Publishing, and always in a variety of functions where I felt that the products do have a positive impact, like books, like healthcare, and others. And in 2018, I discovered Celonis, which at that time was still a company very small, but with a very promising business model that is focused on optimizing the processes of all global businesses, whether it's in consumer industries, banking, or even NGOs. I started in that company and built up an academic program that was focused on education and research within the respective area. And while we built out the education department, we realized how much of a positive social impact that has, and that Celonis, while it grew as a company quite significantly, would really fit well if having a proper sustainability program that also adds the environmental factor, ethical factors, and really brings that together. Celonis grew quite significantly in the last years. We're now at 3,000 employees, and that means we have seen much more growth in like the people that we have. It increases our footprint, but it also gives you new opportunities on how you can like work with those people and make sure they all take their part and actually do something good. And that is where I'm still at. I'm leading our sustainability program at Celonis in a global function with a global team, and it's been a very exciting journey. One of the big things that matters to us at Celonis is really this idea of the role that processes can play in the world, and can play especially in the world of businesses. And this is also what is reflected in our sustainability strategy if I look at my daily work. So of course, the sustainability strategy does have that aspect of what can we do to become a better company and drive sustainable operations here. We are on a net zero journey. We have committed to set a science-based target. We measure our performance, and we also build a sustainability-minded culture by engaging our employees. But the even bigger thing, or where we really believe we have a huge leverage point, is by using our product and build solutions together with our customers and partners and enable them to operationally and sustainably run their business and run it in a better way. And so we empower our customers to actually become sustainability-driven enterprises and help them to reveal, reduce, and prevent emissions in business processes using our product, the so-called execution management system. And I will show you a bit more on what that means and what it does to help companies in that way. So what I'll guide you through within the next minute is a bit of a nice journey of like every process step you take, talk about footprint and handprint, and then the only or first, which is about my experiences as a woman. So what is it that Celonis as a company is focusing on, and why is it important, and why might it actually save the world? So what we are seeing today in global businesses is that process complexity is at an all-time high. So 71% of companies use 10 or more applications to execute business processes. And you're probably also feeling that every day if you count the amount of tools that you have to deliver your work. It can be Salesforce, Gmail. Then there might be kind of like other tools, SAP systems, Oracle systems. Maybe you have a project management tool. And all of those systems don't necessarily play nice together. There's friction in between them. And that means that most companies don't actually know what's happening in their processes and happening in their company. There's not complete visibility. Only 16% state that they have it. And most of the other leaders say that we have moderate visibility into what's going on in our processes. So you don't know exactly when, where, by whom something is happening in your company. And how that looks like is basically that we as a companies think about how we want to do work and how we want to run, for example, our supply chain, how we want to purchase things, how we want to ship things, how we want to work with our customers. And we design a process that is very streamlined. It has certain activities and we know exactly when something will happen. Then as a company, we're also aware that there's not always kind of like that one solution or that one variant to run your process. And so we think that, sometimes we have some deviations or we have like, 2 ways of doing something. But in reality, and we figured this out by using a technology called process mining, we've realized that processes actually run like the picture on the right. And that is actually what, how it would look like when you depict it in process mining. And that is very typical for like any company we have worked with, that is the actual result. And that's then explaining kind of like the friction and pain points in companies, the way that people really struggle doing their work, the way that it takes longer, invoices are paid twice, goods are not shipped in the ideal way, and also mistakes happen. And that itself is already a problem for the cost and revenue aspect of a company, but it is also a big one for the sustainability strategy, because companies are setting increasingly ambitious goals for sustainability, like becoming net zero by 2030 or sourcing all materials sustainably. But it's very hard to operationalize those goals and take them from vision to action. And we're seeing in statistics that only 50% of companies are actually effective against environmental goals, and it's even less for social and governance goals. And the reason for that is also process complexity, because it runs across so many systems. There's so many things to consider. The data is not available at the right point. It's scattered. People are working in silos. There's less alignment, and you simply don't know what to do to make your sustainability goals a reality. And this is especially important if we look at the environmental part of it and the big goal of companies that want to go to net zero. Processes really matter for that. What this slide shows, and it's a bit complex, but it shows the carbon footprint of a company and how it's usually structured. So you do have upstream activities, the electricity you purchase, but also what you buy in, your assets, the commuting, the waste, business travel, and so on. You have your reporting company and you have downstream activities, how your products are used, and so on. And if you look at some of these words, you might realize that some of these are actually already processes like procurement or transportation, how things are wasted or business travel. And 70 to 90% of business emissions are actually in that scope 3, as we call it, in the supply chain, in those processes. So when you fix these, you can actually tackle the majority of a carbon footprint of a company. And we're doing that by using a technology called process mining and our product that is called the execution management system. It's a cloud platform, so it's fast, it's secure, it's scalable, and it works in like 3 steps. So first of all, it enables companies to work with real-time data and integrate the data across systems, documents, and even event streams. And for sustainability, that means that for the first time, you can put your carbon footprint in the same system as what you use, for example, to run your business, like SAP or Oracle. And we connect basically all the different data sources. Then comes the core part, which is the process intelligence. Like from those systems, you can derive actually how the process runs. So we can understand with metadata from those systems, what are the different process steps and variants and how do they work? It's like an X-ray or even an MRI, because it also can show the context and how processes interact with each other. And it recognizes patterns and recommends improvements. And lastly, the system also suggests targeted action and gives companies the possibility to execute on those actions and to automatize things, to kick off workflows, to write back into systems, and to do that all in a very automatic and seamless and easy flow. And that is a bit of the success formula for companies, also for the sustainability strategies. You need data, you need intelligence, and you need action. And that is especially true for 2 areas where we're right now doing the most with companies. It's, of course, in the supply chain, because it matters how you source your products, how you produce them, how you ship them to customers. And especially in procurement and order management or transportation, we're currently looking at solutions together with our customers. We work with EcoVadis as a partner. We evaluate suppliers. We help select the right material based on emissions, and we help calculate the emissions in transportation and what it does to your returns and cancellation reduction. And that has a tremendous impact on the sustainability strategy of companies. And that is the reason why processes can actually save the world. And if we look at all the processes that are existing in a company, there's many, and you see them in blue, that are related to a sustainability strategy. And that is why it is so important to actually look at them, fix them in a company, and make them work for the planet rather than against it. So that is a bit of an insight into the work that I'm usually doing within the company and the products that me and my team are building. But that isn't all in the processes. Celonis is a hyper-growing company. It has moved from like 150 employees when I started to 30,000 now. We have more than 2,000 customer deployments. We're the market leader. It's ranked highest by industry analysts, and we have also the highest valuation of startups in Germany. That is all amazing. That is a slide that we usually use to introduce ourselves. But that also comes with challenges and opportunities if you think about the sustainability for that company itself. And so how did we structure a sustainability program in a tech company like that? So our team is located with the Chief Operating Officer, and we act a bit as like a center of excellence in the company. That is a bit of the governance structure. In my team, I do have people that focus on building innovative solutions for customers and products. I have a team that takes them to market and helps customers use it. And I do have a strategy and operations team that runs basically anything that is needed to internally be successful with our sustainability. But it only works if you bring that kind of like governance into execution. And so we have 3 areas: climate, social impact, and governance. We have set ourselves goals, which I think is really important to have the right direction. So we want to go to net zero. We have diversity goals. And we also want to enable our employees to use time for impactful projects. Then we focus a lot. So when we look at like the initiatives that we want to do, we look at, of course, like what is the impact on our goals and what does it mean? But we also look at engagement. How much would it bring our global workforce into the power of doing something good? How engaged would they be? Then we have clear measures like, we want to reduce our emissions by using renewable energy. We want to focus on mobility and procurement, what we purchase in. And we have clear KPIs that we also report in our sustainability report. And there's a couple of pieces that came from this work in the last years and that we clearly see as a factor of sustainability culture. We have huge communities that drive knowledge and action. We build specific trainings because people are very eager to learn more about sustainability. And we run global Celonis Impact Days. So we have 3 days a year where employees can use a day for impactful projects that serve our society or the environment and help Celonis create this movement around sustainability. What I have learned from that sustainability journey is 3 core things in the last years. So first of all, it is very important that sustainability is actually grounded in your company values. About 3.5 years ago, Celonis made its values explicit for the first time. And Earth is our future was a clear value where we said we care about the planet, we care about sustainability. Having that as a value always makes it easier that in your projects, you kind of like reconnect to that value. You can always have a bit of a guidance and a compass for employees. And it also means that usually your executive team is very engaged and also eager to make a difference. So the value was a core thing. The second part is something I mentioned already shortly. It's the engagement part. The decision-making on strategic measures is oftentimes focused on the impact on, for example, the carbon footprint. What does it do to drive our values? But the problem is some of those measures that might come out of it, like, for example, reducing business travel and letting people not come to the office, because that would have a huge implication and a positive impact on your carbon footprint. But it is not good for engagement. And that means you will lose your people and you lose kind of like the activity and the engagement. And that's why we have taken that into account as a second dimension. And we weigh basically our measures against these 2, engagement and the impact on the goals. And lastly, whatever you have, however big your sustainability team is, you need a community. You need to provide people with the possibility and the time that they can drive their own projects, run after their passion, because that is what creates a good sense of ownership, accountability, but especially team spirit. And we see that with our Global Impact Days, where people really get the time and they can also pick their own project and organize them. And it's amazing to see with how many great ideas people come up with and how many projects they organize. So that is a clear recommendation of kind of like letting that thrive and let people build your own culture and not like, do a top down basically just with the sustainability team. So those were some of my learnings on our sustainability program at Celonis. But you might have seen it's like from the kind of like products towards what we do internally, I will take it personally now. I'm also a female leader in a very fast growing tech company, whereas sustainability is an area that usually sees a couple of female leaders. Usually in tech, you're still oftentimes the only or first one. And I've gathered in one picture, basically a few of the learnings that I had and that I want to share with you as also female leaders or thriving leaders on like what has helped me to be successful in my role. And it comes down to a success formula that I will share at the end. But there were 4 kind of like key pillars that I built my passion, my success on. So the first one is a very important sentence that I keep saying to myself in like difficult situations. It means that courage is not the absence of fear. And you have probably heard that before, but it's a very strong sentence because that it means that it's not about not being afraid, or it's not about kind of like not listening to your gut if something feels awkward, but it's a conscious decision that you decide to be just more courageous in that decision, take a risk or take that step, say yes to something. And it doesn't mean that you have to kill the fear. It is actually a good sign that something might be very exciting or might be very big. Then, very important, make friends, not enemies. The thing that has kind of like helped me the most was really finding and nourishing a group of female peers that weather storms together and celebrate successes. It doesn't work without it. And unfortunately, still today, sometimes when it comes to women, there's a bit of a competition. There's sometimes kind of like a bit of a harshness, and that is not helping. So you need to make friends and you need to have that group that is cheering for you. What has helped me a lot as like a female in a room and with like a lot of male, but also in my role, was really mastering stakeholder management, training my presentation and communication skills, and say yes to moments on stage. So that kind of like, putting yourself out there, communicating and being present is something that, sometimes naturally comes to us actually and is a good thing. So rather say yes if someone asks you to present on stage, because visibility is key. It helps other women to have a bit of a role model to look up to and do something. And it's also a great training for you, and it can become a significant strength and something why people pick you for something. And lastly, sustain your performance. You're only as good as your brain and body allow. And you do have to notice any danger, thought, or pattern. You have to get help if needed, and you have to prioritize self-care rigorously. And it's something that you learn every day in like a stressful life. And sometimes it's forgotten or overlooked or not really talked about, but this is really critical. And so when I summarize it all, my success factors and success formulas in my role was definitely my values, my strength, endurance, and also timing of like when you are in the right place. Thank you for your attention. I hope that, there were some thoughts in that you are happy to take away from. I want to thank you for joining. My colleague will post my LinkedIn profile in the chat if you want to reconnect and ask any question to me. I'm happy to hear from you and I'm happy to connect. And you can also see more of Celonis by visiting our virtual booth. If you haven't yet, our recruiters are also excited to meet you. And there's more Celonis sessions, so actually don't miss out on them in the upcoming week. And reach out to me and my team. It was such a pleasure to be with you today. So thank you, and I hope you will save the world.
Thank you so much, Janina. I don't know what more to add to this. You just had a great presentation, a great ending, and I just want to say that people really loved your session. And there were so many insights here. Courage is not the absence of fear, but rather a conscious decision. That's something that you said also resonated with the participants. Most of the chat participants said that we should preserve our planet, and we should be more active in saving it by reducing our carbon footprint. And some that said we must spread awareness and volunteer. So these were some of the answers that I wanted to highlight today. And thank you so much. And I'm sure there are many people who are interested in working together with you, with your team on the important project or sustainability. So make sure to say hi in the Celonis booth, join the meet and greet session. And thank you so much, Janina, for being with us today. You said your colleague will share your LinkedIn. So if anyone who's joining, listening to us, have more questions, please don't be shy, don't hesitate, and reach out to Janina or just drop a note thanking her for today. Thank you so much. And it was great to have you with us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Anna, and have a great rest of the day in the conference.